When you think of boxing, does this come to mind? Two guys standing in a ring and slugging it out. Well, Jack is about to show us how wrong both of those assumptions are.
Lily Brooke lives in Canada, and she's a boxer. First of all, some people might find it a bit surprising for a girl to take up boxing.
You know, I've never really understood why people think it's surprising for a girl to take up boxing. Like, yes, it is a competitive sport generally for males. However, the physical contact of the sport shouldn't stop a woman from pursuing it. And that's what I learned while getting into boxing. And that's why I'm here right now talking about wheelchair boxing.
Point taken. But some might find it surprising that you can be in a wheelchair and be able to box.
Yeah, actually, a lot of people don't know wheelchair boxing is a real sport. And to be honest, I mean, I understand it because it's not known. It's not a sport within the para community that is extremely known. However, it is the sport that has helped me personally so much within my life and within sport as well. So boxing in a wheelchair is a little bit different than stand-up boxing, of course. And you wouldn't think there's much movement within it. However, there's just as much movement within wheelchair boxing as there is for stand-up. The only difference is that you have wheels for legs.
You haven't always had wheels for legs, though. What happened?
So when I was about 11 years old, well, it actually started beforehand, but when I was 11, I was diagnosed with something called osteochondritis. Now that is something where a bit of my bone basically chipped off and I had a few cysts and I had to get them removed. Now that surgery unfortunately was not successful, and since then I have had 4 surgeries, 3 on my left ankle, 1 on my right ankle, and I've also been diagnosed with osteolysis and osteopenia, which are 2 conditions that basically show that my bone is getting weaker as time goes on.
Wow, you've certainly been through a lot. So, what attracted you to boxing?
I'm not gonna lie, the whole journey to boxing was kind of out of the blue. I started swimming because all my doctors were telling me, oh, that'll be great for you. And I didn't like it. And then that's when I thought, you know what? Let's try boxing. There's a boxing place here in town. Maybe I can't compete, but I can still try it. And then that's when I got into boxing and realized that there is a different way for me to compete.
Wow, again. So, what's training like?
Yeah, so training for boxing for me is 3 days a week of training, and then I do 1 day a week of sparring. So what I do is I do bag drills, I do strength training at school actually, and within the gym. And then in my boxing class, I do technique. That's where the main part of boxing is that a lot of people don't understand, is that you can't just throw a punch. You have to know how to throw it. Otherwise, the strength you have is completely useless.
That makes sense. How popular is wheelchair boxing in Canada, especially among girls?
Wheelchair boxing in Canada is very not popular at all. So I am right now the only one we really know of for females in Canada that is competing or wanting to compete in boxing. And the only people that I've actually sparred are like 30-year-old men. So it's really unfortunate that it's not such a known sport. However, I hope to one day make it one.
Gotta ask, how do you do sparring against men?
Well, you know, it's generally just for training purposes that I will spar against them. A lot of people think, you know, a man can't fight a woman. But within boxing, that's not the case. If it's for competition, then you can't. But if it is for training, I gain a lot of experience from it.
I would understand why you would. So, you've been invited to speak to students across Canada about wheelchair boxing and other adaptive sports. But because you were once the victim of bullying, you have a message about that as well?
Yeah, so during the years of middle school up until high school, which I'm just finishing high school right now, I've had many experiences with bullying simply because I'm different in some way, and I've never understood why someone feels the need to say something to me based off of my disability. And this isn't just me that this happens to. I've heard so many stories from so many different people with different abilities getting bullied because of what they can or cannot do. To me, that isn't right. And so what I'm doing is when I go to do these presentations at schools, I will also talk about bullying and what it means when you actually do bully someone and how it can affect them. My goal is to tell everyone that people can be different and it's totally okay.
You are so right about that. Thank you for sharing your story with us, Lily.
Thank you so much. It was great talking to everyone.
In addition to wheelchair boxing, Lily also competes in paranordic sit skiing and wheelchair basketball. In fact, she's a national champion in women's wheelchair basketball. A truly amazing and inspiring person. For Teen Kids News, I'm Jack.